For months and months, Democrats have been fighting to get the Senate to address the health care crisis. This bill does nothing to ensure that that crisis is addressed. I am voting no, and I will keep fighting.
Look, don't let them spin you. The Democrats caved. People have been asking me, what Democrats caved? I want to know. We need to know. Okay, so these are the Democrats who voted to cave to the Republicans. 8 Democratic senators are Dick Durbin, Maggie Hassan, Angus King, Catherine Cortez Masto, Tim Kaine, Jeanne Shaheen, Jackie Rosen, and John Fetterman. They joined the 52 Republicans in this procedural vote to reopen the government without a guaranteed extension of healthcare subsidies. Just a promise to pick it up and maybe vote on it in December.
Water is wet. The sky is blue. The Democrats caved. What else is new? I have so many thoughts about this. In case you have missed it, 10 senators. I haven't even gone through the full list because they pissed me off. But it's 10 Democratic senators have agreed to a deal with the Republicans to open the government. And it is, they let the Republicans play in their faces so much. And y'all knew good and doggone well that y'all not built for this. Y'all not petty enough for this. Y'all not strategic enough for this. Y'all don't stand 10 toes down enough for this. Y'all know that's who y'all are. So if y'all know that's who you are, then don't play in our faces and waste our time for a month. We didn't have to do all this.
The Democrats caved. The Democrats caved. What are you? I have tried to calm down so many times to record this video, but Senate Democrats, it's official. They are actually voting with Senate Republicans to reopen the government and got absolutely nothing from the longest government shutdown in history. What was the point of doing this in the first place if you weren't actually going to care about the Affordable Care Act? What does getting a vote in December mean for the millions of people who are going to experience an increase in their healthcare premiums of $100 to thousands of dollars? If you were going to cave that easily, if you were going to be that soft, what was the point in America going through this in the first place? What kind of stunt is this? Whenever you guys get on my page and you try to say, oh, I'm so biased, I'm so this, I'm so that, I will say what I actually feel regardless of what party they are a part of. This is not something I agree with. Try to keep it calm.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I gotta tell you guys, today is going to be a glorious day of liberal meltdowns because the lunatics, the freaks, they are losing their minds over the fact that Chuck Schumer and Democrats caved to Republicans and President Trump in the government shutdown battle. Now, Democrats decided to starve their own constituents, to take away people's paychecks, to shut down the government in order to fight Trump on behalf of illegal immigrants, on behalf of the Obamacare healthcare subsidies. Okay, they said, hey, we're not going to open up the government unless these demands are met, right? Unless we get the $1+ trillion in healthcare spending for illegal immigrants, unless we get the extension of the Obamacare subsidies that currently is making healthcare unaffordable, right? Unless we get what we want, we are not going to open up the government, okay? And they took away people's food stamps. They took away people's paychecks. They made it dangerous to fly, right? They caused chaos and destruction in this country in order to get what they wanted, just for them to fold after the election that happened just last week. Now, again, they're folding and they're not getting any of the things that they demanded that they claimed they were shutting the government down for.
Scott, the agreement that was reached tonight, I mean, what do you think it does to perhaps what we heard from President Trump, where he repeatedly claimed the Democrats wanted to give free health care to, as he put it, to illegal aliens, as he said. I mean, now part of this agreement is to fund SNAP for another year. So essentially, I mean, should we revisit the claim that the president never really provided evidence for?
Well, look, in the beginning, Democrats absolutely did want to repeal part of the big, beautiful bill that does strictly prohibit illegal aliens from getting Medicaid benefits. That's a separate issue from SNAP. Look, what happened tonight is what's been happening. Republicans have repeatedly voted to fund SNAP. Democrats had been voting to not fund SNAP by, of course, voting to keep the government closed. And only a handful of Democrats tonight voted to fund SNAP. I'm glad those brave Democrats stepped forward to fund SNAP because people absolutely need it. If this were really about SNAP, if it were really about starving families, Democrats on Twitter and Democrats on social media and Democrats on some of the other networks wouldn't be having the meltdown that they're having tonight. But one good outcome here is that Republicans finally got their way, people will get their SNAP benefits, just the way the Republicans have been voting since day one. I'm shocked, frankly, that Democrats have been voting to defund SNAP. It's pretty shocking, really, that they held these SNAP beneficiaries hostage. And now, here at the end of it, again, it's all political. They got nothing. They held these poor people hostage and literally got nothing. They got nothing except a bunch of anxiety and a bunch of pain throughout the American people. Terrible.
Yeah, they got nothing, right? They got nothing. That is the theme of this video, because Democrats are admitting on outlets like MSNBC, on BS Now, that, this really didn't work, right? This did not work the way we thought it would work. Trump won.
Well, Joe, you have to go back to what the strategy was at the beginning of the shutdown. There were two goals, both of which I support. One was standing up to Donald Trump. The other was getting some resolution on the ACA premium tax credit issue. The problem was the shutdown wasn't accomplishing either goals, and there was there was zero likelihood that it was going to. In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power, Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country. Oh, by the way, Joe, you're going to love this. Guess who's getting paid during the shutdown? Not the park rangers or air traffic controllers, the ICE agents. Under special law, under that big, awful bill that they passed last summer, the ICE agents are being paid. Nobody else is. So standing up to Donald Trump didn't work. It actually gave him more power.
Yeah, see that, you heard that. Standing up to President Trump didn't work, okay? Democrats are admitting that out loud, right, on BS Now. I'm pretty sure their audience hated to hear the truth, right? Which is that there was no circumstances in which Republicans were going to agree to the Democrats and their ridiculous demands, right? It was a very stupid thing for them to do in the first place, for them to demand trillions of dollars for illegal immigrants and to extend Obama healthcare subsidies that, again, are driving up the cost of healthcare, okay? It was just dumb from the beginning. What else is dumb is pretending that the Democrat voters are dumb in regards to Chuck Schumer giving permission to Democrats to fold, because there are a lot of people who are now calling for Chuck Schumer to be primary. He has to go.
You think Chuck Schumer needs to go after tonight?
He should have gone a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. Yes, you talk about aiming not meeting the moment, right? Every time he gets in front of the camera, the average Democratic voter out there screams, "Be done with you, be done." And this will only accelerate that. Yes,
Joe,
I think
do you think the left is headed for a Tea Party-like moment here? I mean, I know that you're new to being a Democrat and you're not like some big lefty or progressive, but this does seem to fit the argument that they have been making, that some of these older or more moderate and establishment figures just aren't ready to meet this moment. Generational change is needed. You know, this sort of seems like if you're one of them, you're running on this. You're challenging
I'll tell you what, if I were on set with you all right there, I'm yanking off my mic and I'm hugging you. I'm giving you a big high five. You are exactly right. Look.
Yeah, again, this is hilarious, right? This is the full-blown destruction of the Democrat Party that I've been warning about, because this is what happens when you get in bed with extremists. The extremists wanted Democrats to basically have the government shut down forever, right? To starve people forever, to make sure that air traffic controllers, the military, they don't get paid forever, right? As long as they get what they want, that's the only thing they care about. But the reality of politics is that pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, right? That is what happens. And Democrats, again, are now getting slaughtered because they've got in bed with these extremists who are effectively demanding that they destroy the whole country in order to stick it to Trump, right? Who cares about people not getting their food stamps before Thanksgiving or getting their paychecks before Thanksgiving or Christmas, right? The holidays. Who cares, okay? Trump bad. Trump evil, okay? And Democrats got in bed with these people. Chuck Schumer got in bed with these people because he is trying to save his career, right? He knows the AOC is probably going to primary his ass, and she's going to win. She's 100% going to win. He is cooked, and he's trying desperately to save his career. Same thing going to happen to Hakeem Jeffries. They're going to get primary, and they're probably going to lose their jobs, okay? Trying to get in bed with far-left extremists in order to save your career is a fool's errand, because these people are super far left. You can't be far left enough for these people and they're emboldened, especially after the election of Zoran Mandami. These Democrats are going to get primary. They're going to lose their jobs. They will be a lot easier to beat in the general election, right? Hopefully that's the case. So again, you have propagandists, like for example, Neera Tanden, who claimed that Schumer voted no. How about some tweets on the yes votes, right? In response to Ro Khanna, who's a far left progressive, calling for Chuck Schumer to be replaced. Now, the problem with Neera Tanden and tweets like this is that she is assuming that Democrat Party voters are dumb, right? All of these people operate under the assumption that their voters are stupid, okay? That's why I want people to understand about Democrats, because only a stupid person who doesn't understand anything about politics would believe that somehow, some way, Chuck Schumer didn't want the shutdown to end, or he didn't have anything to do with it, considering how he is the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. He's calling the shots, right? He is the power player, okay? Just because he voted no, that doesn't mean that he didn't want the shutdown to end. That doesn't mean that he didn't cave. That doesn't mean he wasn't responsible for it. He certainly was responsible for it. But what Democrats do, what politicians do, is that they will virtue signal vote, okay, on something that they can't politically support, but behind closed doors, they actually do support the outcome. They just can't vote for the outcome that they want because they know they're going to get backlash, and they already know that they have the votes that they need. They have enough Democrats or politicians that are willing to take the backlash to vote for the outcome that they want. They don't have to really vote on it. That is what Chuck Schumer tried to do, and let's just say it's not working because, again, everybody knows that Chuck Schumer gave Democrats permission to fold, that he is behind this.
Senator Chuck Schumer, your leader on the Senate, said, I cannot support a continuing resolution that fails to address health care. I am voting no. Did you do this outside leadership, and was there a big push for you not to join the others and break the 60 threshold?
No, we kept leadership informed throughout. And I think it's important to remember who's responsible for why we got into this shutdown. We are here because we are concerned about the health care costs rising significantly on millions of Americans. And we didn't have any indication before the shutdown started that our Republican colleagues were willing to address it. Now, Speaker Johnson is going to have to bring the House back in. He's been AWOL since the beginning of September when we were in the middle of the shutdown. Leader Thune has agreed that we will have a bill that we will write that will give us an opportunity to work on those health care costs. And we believe there are a lot of Republicans, including a lot of Trump supporters, who want to see us do something about this because their costs are going.
Yeah. So Democrats didn't do this outside of leadership, right? They kept leadership informed, a.k.a. Chuck Schumer knew, and Chuck Schumer gave them permission to go ahead and, fold, right? Go ahead and fold, okay? And that's why propagandists like Neera Tanden, who clearly believes that her followers, that Democrat Party voters are stupid. This is why she's getting a whole lot of backlash from these left-wing extremists, right? Like, for example, this person says, nice try, but people aren't as stupid as you condescending elites like to think. Everybody knows that they don't take this vote without his consent. This person says, plausible deniability. There is substantive reporting on the fact that he has been involved in this since Thursday. He's the leader of the party. Manny Cruz says, that's called political theater or voting off. You're not going to trick people who know how power works with a performative no vote. Yeah, I mean, I call it a virtue signal vote, right? That's what I call it. But yeah, that's effectively what it is. Okay, he's virtue signaling to the far left, claiming that he's against an outcome that he's actually for, right? That he is responsible for. That's how these politicians work. That's the type of games that they play with people. Schumer is ineffective at leading. His no vote was a ploy. They chose those 8 senators because none of them are up for re-election next year. They played us. Yeah. So this is hilarious, right? There's a ton of backlash. They are calling to primary all of these individuals, right? All of these individuals, their faces, their names are everywhere, okay? And they're saying they voted against the Obamacare subsidies, right? This is what they're saying. So with that being said, it's bad because, again, on MSDNC or BS Now, there's full-blown backlash against Democrats. And again, this is going to be going on all day, right? Prepare for liberal meltdowns all day long. These people are angry. They are pissed.
For 40 days, you shut the government down, and now you're going to open the government up, and what did you get in return?
Right.
Nothing?
Right.
Nothing? After the pain you inflicted, people were willing to take the. I talked to union workers from TSA. I said, "I'll take the pain if it's going to help me to get health insurance subsidies paid." So
yeah. So again, listen to these people talk. They're telling you the truth now. Democrats are the reason why people lost their food stamps, why they lost their paychecks. They're telling you out loud. They're saying, yeah. Democrats are the reason why this happened. Democrats are responsible for the shutdown. Remember that. Just listen to them. Listen to them talk.
You're getting nothing in return. I don't know how. And you just won an election on Tuesday in huge numbers.
This is my question. What explains the timing here? Like, what changed? The Trump deals didn't change.
The cynical person would say that Democrats won the election, that that's what changed.
Yeah, Republicans are going to say that.
That's exactly what they're going to say. And, I'm not flacking. I, worked for 3 Democratic senators back in the day. I'm not flacking for them now. I don't know what their response, a real response, is going to be to that because it's not apparent. It looks like they folded. We spoke about this earlier, but it's strange, Dean, to go back to the original sort of part of this conversation of whether he is a good deal maker. I mean, in a way, it seems like the president is kind of getting what he wanted 40 days ago when all this started. He was out there saying that, this is all about Democrats trying to give health care to illegal immigrants. He just said that to reporters moments ago, repeated that refrain that Democrats had actually very successfully pushed back against. Then there's all this energy. In the wake of the election on Tuesday, the president made remarks saying basically, wow, Republicans are being harmed by all of this, acknowledging that he was on his back foot. And now here he is winning again? How did he do it?
The Democrats, I don't understand how a Democratic senator goes, wow, we won really big. Let me cave now. I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
Well, maybe to Anthony's point, if they were cynical, like if we wanted just to hold this out until we get through the election and then after the election, we got the wins,
And we got people to focus on what we wanted to focus on, which is that Republicans.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that. In my opinion, here's the way I look at it. I don't think Democrats had much to gain by continuing to hold out, but that is the trade-off that you get by doing this in the first place, right? I will say that, I think that the shutdown was effective for getting people out to vote, but those elections were inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, right? Again, you're talking about blue state elections, okay? Blue cities, inconsequential. Republicans still have power and control. If they did it for that reason, that's not really a great prize, right? It's not really a great reward, okay? That's like a side thing, okay? Their stated goals were to get healthcare for illegal immigrants and to extend the Obamacare subsidies. They didn't get that. So I get why leftists are seeing this as a loss, okay? But that's the reality of the situation, okay? There's pros and cons to this stuff. There are trade-offs. Yeah, you had this big night, right? This big election night, but getting out of the shutdown that you orchestrated now comes with a cost, okay? That's how politics works. Yeah, you might win some, but the cost of winning means that you're going to lose when you have to actually pull back, when you have to fold. Because again, they weren't going to keep the government shut down throughout Thanksgiving, throughout Christmas. Like, that just wasn't going to happen, right? They weren't going to do that to people during the holidays. That would have been insane, okay? And again, everybody with 2 brain cells to rub together they know that Democrats are responsible for this. So the more that they held out, the more pain and suffering people have to go through. And again, Democrats would eventually fold anyways because Republicans were never going to agree to those ridiculous demands. And ultimately today, when it comes to the Obamacare subsidies, the ball is kind of in the court of Republicans, right? In the sense that, Republicans are going to have to come up with something. They're going to have to come up with something by time they vote again on this, okay, as promised. They're going to have to come up with something in order to deal with this issue. Because if they don't come up with something, then people's premiums will rise, in which, again, I just want to stress, I'm against extending the Obamacare subsidies. I'm not for it, okay? But at the same time, right, I'm not one of these people that's affected by it. So I get the people who are affected by it, they're going to vote, okay? And they're going to point the finger at Republicans because, again, this is going to come up again, right? People have short-term memories. People are mad now, but it's going to come up again in a month. Republicans are going to have to do something about it. They're going to have to do something about Obamacare. They have to do something about it in a way that will help them in the midterms, or put it this way, in a way that won't hurt them during the midterms. So I understand why Democrats are folding. it's just funny to me to watch the extremists who don't understand why they're folding get mad at them for folding, because, again, the extremists are extremists for a reason. They don't actually really understand how this stuff works, right? The political calculus behind all this stuff. But Democrats were going to always take this type of blowback because they never was going to get the demands that they were asking for. Republicans were never going to agree to $1.5 trillion of spending for illegal immigrants. They were never going to agree to have the Obamacare subsidies extended while being held hostage by the Democrat. They weren't going to do that. And I think Democrats knew that, and they used the shutdown to their advantage in order to blame Trump. And because the mainstream liberal media pushes propaganda on behalf of Democrats, it worked for a little bit. But they were always going to get this backlash when they would eventually have to fold, right? Which was going to happen. They would have to fold eventually. So that's politics. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.